I am so happy with how this looks for the Rangers. We have a pitcher, Jack Leiter, and he is a dude.
And while I do think his hitting is worse than Derek Jeter, it's not that far off.
You're not mentioning 2006. You can mention the other people, not 2006.
Oh, just because I bought the best soap doesn't mean your room's going to be clean. It just leaves it to where I don't believe that the Canadians had a shot.
I really don't like the Clippers just kind of sending it in when they're like...
Hi, this is Kelly Forbes with the Dallas Stars, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NHL Opinions of the Week. This is midway through the series, maybe the series over, we don't know. But I'm Kevin, and I'm joined, with the man that has a stat for luck.
Yeah, I'll bring up the exact number, but Vegas has been historically lucky. And look, hockey is a sport where you need luck to win. Every team that wins the Stanley Cup, every team has been lucky along the ride. But this is unprecedented. And
it's DOI? Is that the
It's
stat?
PDO.
PDO, okay.
So it's their number, their PDO is so much higher than anybody else's, and I don't understand how a team gets this lucky, but like I said, every team that wins gets lucky, and I can't hold it against Vegas. It's not Vegas's fault, but it does definitely impact their run.
Yeah, the thing, I read it, and then I forgot to tell you I had read it, but I told you now. And I think it's also interesting that there's a stat for luck, because I always think of luck as something that stats can't quantify. But in hockey, there is a stat that quantifies the luck.
Yeah, it's basically the sum of a team's shooting percentage and its save percentage. And Vegas's is they're just getting much more lucky. The team against them has a crazy low save percentage, and they have a crazy high one. They're just getting every bounce is going their way. They're getting penalties that are arguable at best, and it's really helping them on this run. And again, every team's going to be lucky on the run. It just so happens that Vegas is maybe the luckiest team, statistically speaking, using the stat. They're the luckiest team ever. Now, luck is much more general than just a number, but Vegas is so high above everyone else's, especially compared to the regular season, as you mentioned before the video, that it's a store. The next closest, so they're at 106.9%. The next closest is at 104.8. So they're much, 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 much higher than anybody else's that I've ever seen. And I mean, good for Vegas fans. They're getting lucky, and like I said, everyone needs it.
Yes, and maybe it's something that could change in this series. Could change, but we'll get it. I kind of want to talk about that after we talk about this, which is the officiating, which it seemed to me at the beginning they were calling a lot of calls because they didn't want to be too physical. But I would have just put both players on either team, like, hey, we're not doing this. Don't mess around. And the thing is, how did someone not go in the penalty box when Aiden Hill tried to fight someone? He actually hit someone with his blocker in game one.
Yeah. And if you look at the cross check, there shouldn't have been at the end of the game, game 4. There should not have been the whistle should not have been blown. It was blown for no reason. And Tkachuk got cross checked after the play. And I hate the worst. This is look, people. I do overextend myself often. I say this is the worst thing of all time, or this is the best thing of all time. Right. But literally, look. I played hockey for the majority of my life. The most confusing, it's not close. In any sport, the most confusing penalty or rule is cross-checking. It's more confusing than what a catch is. It's more confusing than what pass interference is. It's more confusing than what a foul is in basketball. Because they say, oh, he got cross-checked. There's no call. 90% of the time, there's no call. But you just said he got cross-checked, which is a penalty. Like, it's literally cross-checking. That is a penalty. And Tkachuk, after the whistle, got cross-checked. That is a penalty by the rulebook, but they rarely call it. And so when they do, you're like, why are you calling it? Or call it all. I played hockey in real life for 10 plus years. If you ask me, was that a cross-check? Yep. Is it a penalty? I never have an idea. Never. If you want to call it, you call it. Basically, it's the most up in the air call of all time because it is a cross check. It's like calling it a catch and then calling it incomplete. Like that's he caught it, but it's incomplete. What? Oh, he he committed a pass interference, but there's no pass interference. No, but he did a pass interference, but they didn't throw it. No, but he did it though. I don't know what to say. And the fact that some of the calls are just not going both ways. And I texted this in the group chat that we were in, but Mark Stahl gets his stick knocked out of his hand by Mark Stone, which is a penalty. And then Mark Stahl trips Mark Stone, which is a penalty. But they call the Mark Stahl penalty and not the Mark Stone penalty. It's those things like either don't call either or call both. And it really does influence this series.
Yeah, I saw that message in the group chat, and I was like, man, I hope they can do the penalty kill, and it worked. Florida seemed to do well in the penalty kill, and it seemed to reinvigorate them. It didn't work out, but one thing that stuck out to me in Game 4 was the offsides call. I don't know any of the. I can't really see the penalties yet, but I can see offsides. I can tell. I'm like, okay, offsides, icing. Those are the ones that I'm pretty quick with. And they're like, man, let's zoom in. And then you can see the ref is right in front of.
Oh no, he was not offsides at all. He was clearly onside.
He was right, and the ref was right behind him.
It wasn't even close. Yeah, I know. It was not close.
Funny.
I was looking at it normal time, and I'm like, why did they blow the whistle? Offsides?
And the ref is right there. That's the part that makes it funny. Another thing that I find great enjoyment is just how much Aiden Hill wants to fight.
Oh no, he's a feisty person, but the problem is they don't penalize Vegas for wanting to be feisty.
Yeah.
But they do penalize the Panthers. And look, I have no skin in the game. There's a lot of players on Vegas I really like. Jonathan Marchessault, William Karlsson. Those are two of my favorite players in the league. Like, they are just underdogs that have been with this team for so long that I want to see do well. Karlsson had a 40-goal season his first year with Vegas, and I still remember them being the rejects, the nobody wants them, so they were taken in the draft. So me seeing them do well is good. And then for the Panthers, Mark Stahl, a veteran who's never won a championship before. Kachuk, a good USA player. I mean, both teams have players that I truly want to see win a cup. Bobrovsky's a guy I want to see win a cup. But as unbiased as I can be, they're calling this more one way than the other. Would you agree?
Yeah, it does seem weird. It seems weird. I did miss Game 3, so.
Well, maybe you should stop watching then, because that's the only game the Panthers won.
Yeah, I had plans, so we'll see. But yeah, I think so. Back to the luck. They have been statistically lucky. Maybe that luck changes and it goes to Game 6 or something. It's a 3-1 lead, and the Panthers have done this very recently.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? I still think back to that Boston series. Boston had more goals than Florida. And that kind of proves that you can get blown out in other games, but win by one, and you're winning the series. So Florida's really good at those overtime, very close, nitty-gritty games, and they have to play like that. But the problem is the refs are stopping them from being physical. That Panthers-Boston series was extremely physical, and they weren't calling as much. So you had to be very aware, head up, hey, they're going to hit you hard if you're not paying attention. But now Vegas can kind of, they don't have to have their head up as much because Florida doesn't want to get that costly penalty. Luckily for them, Vegas's power play is horrible, or at least it has been for the playoffs.
Yeah. And the thing I wanted to bring up when I was talking about how good their defense is, it's to me that the thing that I figured out, I was like, oh, it's how many block shots Vegas blocks. The defenseman.
Yeah, that's definitely extremely helpful. Hill is playing good, but it definitely helps that they have massive defensemen that are block everything.
Yeah, and I don't think Bobrovsky's been playing bad. I know the numbers say it. It just seems like Vegas is getting in front.
You can't give away a breakaway. Like that first shot, I know he went 5-hole, but you can't give away a breakaway. Like, you can't.
And I was just shocked by that change. I was like, why are you...
No, that was a terrible change by Ekblad. Horrible.
Yeah.
As, again, I'm not even in the same universe as Ekblad, but as a defenseman who used to play, you can't change there. Like the announcer said during the game, he wasn't even over the red line. Like that is such a risky change. And he was not skating off extremely hard. Like he was just coasting over to the bench, and that was the difference. That's the goal that ended up. I know it technically wasn't the game winner, but that was the difference. Vegas scored two hard goals. Florida scored 2 hard goals, but a breakaway. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, it just seems sloppy, and it just seems like in the first 2 series or the first 2 games, the Vegas was just blocking Bobrovsky's vision. That's why they were able to score and getting a lot of tips to score.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping it gets a little bit. An NBA video will be coming out in the future, in the next few days. To me, this is still very wide open, this series. And the NBA one, check out what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, you share the same thoughts. It's still pretty wide open. Like Florida can come back.
If Florida doesn't, again, the luck is playing a big factor. So if the luck changes, like you said earlier in the video, I definitely think it could change.
Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.